Warning: this tutorial is designed specifically for new players to grasp the basic mechanics of Virtua Fighter as easy as possible. To keep things simple and beginner-friendly, some detailed mechanics have been intentionally skipped and will be covered in future videos.
Recently, Sega just announced that new Virtua Fighter project is currently in production. What is Virtua Fighter? Ultimate VF Beginner's Guide Level 1. Hi, I'm a rental animator. I'm a huge video game fan and also a professional animator. Today, I'd like to introduce you to Virtua Fighter. Just recently, a new Virtua Fighter project was announced by Sega. It's been whopping 18 years since the last numbered Virtua Fighter game was released. And this announcement has become big news in the fighting gaming community. Taking this opportunity, I want to share just how amazing Virtua Fighter is with those who've never played it before. So if you're into fighting game genre, I'm sure you've heard of Virtua Fighter at least once. It has a reputation as one of the deepest and most well-balanced fighting game ever created, but it's also often called one of the most difficult games to play. There are some misconceptions about this, but it's also understandable for certain reasons. First, I'd like to explain why Virtua Fighter is known or misunderstood as a difficult fighting game. Why is Virtua Fighter considered difficult? The main reason is that this game has legit strategic mechanics. Virtua Fighter is heavily constructed on the concept of fast-paced rock, paper, scissors. Without knowing it, there is no way to beat someone who does know it. For example, if you're a beginner and only know one option like just rock, your opponent could simply use paper against you and you'd obviously never win. Even if you learn second option like scissors, but still rely only on them, a skilled opponent could choose rock every time, leaving you with no chance to win. So without understanding how many options you have and what beats what, there is no way to defeat someone with more experience and knowledge than you. But here's the flip side. If you make the correct decision with the right knowledge, your rate of winning instantly goes up. And the knowledge you need to learn isn't too complicated. Also, just letting you know that VF only requires 3 buttons to play. No, I'm serious. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I promise you, once you understand the mechanics of VF, you will be glad there aren't any extra buttons. The buttons are P for punch, K for kick, G for guard. By combining these buttons in different ways, you can perform additional actions such as throws, 4-circle kick, and more. I will cover those in detail in later video content. Okay, let's jump into what becomes rock, paper, scissors in VF. Let's start from scissors, and we can think of it as strikes. Strikes includes punch, kick, elbow, knees, basically all types of striking attacks. This might be obvious to you, but these are the moves that deal direct damage to your opponent. Next, let's think of paper as throws. Throws are another kind of attack that also deal damage to your opponent, and it tend to give bigger damage than strikes without additional attacks. Finally, let's think of rock as blocking. Blocking is a defensive option that prevents damage from strikes. Since most fighting games have the same 3 options, strikes, throws, and blocking, it probably doesn't sound unique to you, doesn't it? So what's unique about them in Virtua Fighter? In VF, these 3 options are tied to an almost immutable looped relationship. This is where things get deeper and more interesting. Let's look at an example. If you choose strikes and your opponent chooses throws at the same time, strikes always win, just like scissors to paper. There's no scenario where throws beat strikes. Even if your strike comes out way later than their throw, you still win. If we switch the side and you are the one trying to throw while opponent is striking with punches and kicks, you will never succeed. Your opponent's strikes will interrupt your throw attempt forever. You will become a literal sandbag. Now blocking becomes useful. If you choose to block, strikes can't hurt you. You will take no damage at all. What's cool about blocking is that it often gives you the advantage of the next move. When you block an attack, the opponent needs time to retract their arm or leg before making their next move. On the other hand, the person who blocked their strikes can start the next action quicker. If the opponent chooses to strike repeatedly after their strike is blocked, your strike will land first. And that is going to be a counter hit. Counter hits sometimes give you more opportunity to add a combo damage than normal hit. This forces your opponent to be defensive most of the time when you block their attacks. That's why we can say blocking beats striking. Blocking isn't just a defensive choice. It turns the table, gives you the chance to go on the offensive side. Now it circles back to throwing. If you blocked your opponent's strikes, since you have the advantage of an early starts for the next move, you can either strike back or throw them. But in this case, don't you think the opponent is going to choose to block most likely? Because their strikes won't win against yours on time. Blocking is actually quicker than attacks and can save them even in this situation. So for them, the choice of blocking is the only one that gives them a potential benefit here, right? If you agreed and you predicted that they are going to block, you should go for a throw. Because throws always beat blocking. Yep, that works. But wait a minute. What if they knew you were going to throw? Yep, that hurts. Strikes always win against the throws, even if they come out later, remember? If they decide to do this, you are in trouble. Not only does your throw fail, but you'd also take a counter hit into the face, because you were in the action of throwing. So even if you had an advantage for the moment, it doesn't mean all of your options are going to be safe. Now you can see how these simple rock, paper, scissors mechanics can get deep pretty fast, right? It always gives both the advantage and disadvantage side an opportunity to win the moment. And the sides keep switching back and forth with high-speed exchange and high tension from the beginning of the match until the end. That's the most unique part of the VF, and that's why this game is so much fun. In other fighting games, haven't you had the experience where you made the right move for the moment but still lost? You knew what was coming, but it was unblockable, or something that shouldn't have hit still landed, or some characters are just way too OP than yours, like Third Strike Champion. Anyways, of course losing is never be a great feeling first of all, but when you have those type of defeats, it feels frustrating because it's out of your control. On the other hand, if you lose because your read was wrong or you made mistakes, it actually gives you hope because all you need is improvement, and that's up to you. I personally think that seeking self-improvement is a big part of the joy of fighting games. VF has no end to it. That's why there are people who have been playing this game with the same freaking version for 13 years. It's unbelievable, isn't it? But one thing I gotta tell you is when you lose in this game, it's mostly your fault. It's hard though because there's nothing to blame for other than yourself. But the results always make sense to you. That's why I love this game so much. So this is the end of Ultimate VF Beginner's Guide Level 1. The part I mentioned is only the surface of the VF mechanics. There are actually more exciting and fun things to talk about, such as variations of attacks, evade, the concept of frame in VF, Nitaku, throw techs. Hopefully I can make more videos about them. If this video was entertaining and educational enough, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. I will make more contents for the future of Virtua Fighter. See you later!